Hello, everybody, and welcome to Decoding the WSL, the podcast dedicated to the stats and facts in the WSL. Today, we're going to be going over our team of the season, but with a bit of a twist. We are only allowed one person per team. We're picking a starting 11 and a manager. So from the 12 teams in the WSL this season, we're going to have one person each. It's not just me doing it on my own. I've got two guests alongside me today. First up, we've got one of the pod regulars. We've got Jacob Bernstien. Jacob, how are you?
I am doing good, thank you. I'm just about come down from the high of a Spurs Europa League win. It's weird being in the closed season and having a quiet June, but looking forward to the Euro starting in a month's time.
Yeah, not too far away. A month today as we record. I'm very much looking forward to that. But yeah, just trying to fill the void in the meantime. And alongside myself and Jacob today, we've got a pod debut for Emily Herbert. Emily, how are you?
Good, thank you. Thanks for having me. Excited.
Thanks for coming on. If you don't know Emily already, you probably, if you watch the WSL and are into the content around it, you've probably heard Emily's voice on the radio, if nothing else. I'm very glad to have you on today.
Thanks for having me.
Right, we're going to go through our teams. We're going to start off just by saying what formations we're going for. I'm going a bit Brexit. I'm going for an old-fashioned 4-4-2. So 4 defenders, 4 midfielders, and a couple of strikers. Jacob, what about you?
I've gone for a 4-3-3, but I will say my midfield is very defensive, actually, surprisingly.
Okay. And Emily?
I've gone for a 4-3-2-1, I think, kind of.
Okay. It'll make sense, I'm sure, as we go through it. So we're going to go through a team at a time and say who we've picked and why, basically. We're going to start from the bottom of the league and work our way up. So we're going to start off with Crystal Palace, obviously the relegated team. This is probably the team that I didn't really have that many people I wanted to pick from Palace because obviously there weren't that many standout players with the quality of their side this season. But I've gone for a Palace player at left back, and I've gone for Lily Woodham. She obviously was at Palace on loan from Seattle Reign, and I think it's one of those players that is not necessarily in because of her amazing stats, because if I was doing it on amazing stats, it'd be even harder to get a Palace player in. But I think she's a player that looked like one of Palace's best players. She had a really good attitude, and she was one that seemed to set the standard for Palace a lot. When something didn't quite go their way, she was making sure players were trying to boost themselves up. Defensively, she was quite good. She had the 4th most blocks in the WSL, which is kind of unsurprising that it's from like a lower down team, because obviously they've got more shots and passes to be blocked. Lily Woodham is mine. Jacob, who's yours?
I have gone for a more attacking player. I've gone for Katie Stengel. I've kind of forced her in at more of a left wing position. She got 4 goals and 4 assists over the course of the season, which are pretty decent numbers themselves, especially considering she was part of a relegation side. This doesn't really count for my strong statistics, but she was an XG underperformer, actually, accumulating 5.5 XG. She started 20 out of 22 of Palace's games, which was the most minutes from an outfield Palace player. So strong contributor in that respect. Palace only won 2 games all season, and Stengel scored in one of those wins. For a lot of the kind of attacking players, I looked at kind of the strength or like importance of their goals. Impressive season from Katie Stengel despite a disappointing season from Palace overall.
Okay, good. First one's up. And then Emily?
So I've gone for Lexi Potter for Crystal Palace. In that midfield area, she's 18 years old. I think she's got a lot of potential to come in the Palace area. She's obviously a Chelsea loanee, and I know that a lot of clubs are looking at her potentially for a permanent signing away and to get her maybe back into the WSL next season on another team. She's a regular starter for Palace, and I think she really kind of works that midfield area, and I think like a lot of the balls go through her and she kind of controls that. I know that Annabelle Blanchard, she was the other one I kind of had for Palace, but I went with Lexi Potter in the end. But those two, I think for me, are the strongest Palace players, and I wanted to get Potter in there.
Yeah, Potter was my sort of second choice for Palace. It sort of depended on where I was going to fit other players in the squad, but I sort of made like a 3-person shortlist for each team, and Potter was my second choice. Woodham was actually my third. Veerden was my first, but it didn't quite work with the other players that I wanted to fit in the side. But yeah, there we go. That's the first team in. We'll start with Jacob on the next one, as it is your beloved Spurs. So which Spurs player have you gone for?
Indeed. I've spoken about this player quite a lot on the pod, and I would be surprised if Sam didn't have the same player that I've put in. But I've put in at right back Ella Morris. I've waxed lyrical of how impressed I've been with Ella Morris over the course of the season. She obviously came in the summer from Southampton, having been part of the England youth setup. She was ruled out at the early part of the season through an MCL injury. She came back, I think it was around the turn of the year, and has been by far a standout performer in what has been such a disappointing second half to the season for Spurs. Ella Morris has had such strengths going forward. You can see she's such a willing runner. She's very creative, is always kind of willing to take on her player, and she got rewarded by scoring her first goal it ended up being a loss, but it was an equaliser at the time against Aston Villa towards the back end of the season. In terms of those like attacking fullback stats, she was in the 88th percentile for progressive carries compared to WSL fullbacks, and she was in the 93rd percentile for successful take-ons per 90. So again, kind of showing those strengths. Obviously, kind of the recent news about Ella Morris is she was called up for the Lionesses for the first time ahead of their Nations League few games before the Euros, and then was withdrawn from the squad because of an ACL injury. So that's an MCL and an ACL injury in the space of just under a year, which I'm so gutted for her, because it firstly would have been such a reward for her strengths, for her impressive performances this season, but secondly to be part of a potential Lionesses Euro squad at such a young age. It would have been a really good experience for her. I have no doubt that Ella Morris will go from strength to strength when she comes back. But it's such a shame to see her miss out.
Yeah, you are getting to know me quite well, because I have also gone for Ella Morris. I had made a 3, as I said, for everyone, but Beth England was my standout player for Spurs. But with the other players that I wanted to fit in, it didn't work. And Ella Morris was my number 2 pick, which fitted in really nicely. I think I've seen her a couple of times live this season. I think her work rate is what really gets me as well. The game at home against City, I think, was the one that in particular I was like, she is Spurs' best player. She was really giving, she was giving City a hard time going forward, but she was also keeping Carolyn really quiet, and I was really impressed by that. Carolyn at the time had been looking really good in previous matches. So, Ella Morris is in for me as well. Emily, what about you?
I wanted Ella Morris, but she didn't quite work. She would have been my number 1, though. I actually went for not my favourite, just because I had to put someone in there in a position that worked. I've gone for Claire Hunt. Now, I've only put her in because other ones didn't work. But I guess she's experienced at the back. She's kind of got that, leadership. She can like guide the back line and tell a team what to do. Now, I did see a goal line clearance from her this year as well, so I'm going to chuck that in as well. I want to say maybe that was City at home, which is when I would have met you, Sam, I think. Maybe it was that one, I'm not sure. But I know she's had a few blunders this year as well, so not my favourite pick, but I've gone for Claire Hunt.
Good picks all round, so we're filling up the defence between us. 4 defensive picks and just 2 already. Let's move on to the next one, which is Leicester. Emily, I'm going to come back to you for this one. Who have you gone for?
Yeah, I've gone for Shannon O'Brien for Leicester, kind of on the left wing type area. I've seen her a few times this year. She's quick down that wing. She gives the defenders a lot of problems. 23 years old. She puts in a really good cross as well on the left, but she's also got that power to strike it as well. I know she's coming back from injury, and from the games where she's come back, she's looked really sharp. So I've been really impressed with her on the wing.
Yeah, Shannon O'Brien was one that was on my shortlist as well. I think she is one of Leicester's better players, but just struggles so much. She was obviously struggled with injury last season as well. as in the 23-24 season, and it's just been a bit unfortunate. I think if she gets a really good run of games, she'll end up doing really well. And I think it'll be the sort of player that Leicester will struggle to keep a hold of because of her quality. Before I go for mine, I'll let Jacob go first, see if he can predict what I'm going to go for again.
I'm not sure I can quite predict this one. I have gone with Janice Cayman as one of my centre midfielders. I think, although this isn't a trait that you'd kind of naturally associate with centre midfielders, Janice Cayman is actually Leicester's top scorer with 4 goals and 1 assist. They've obviously had some problems going forward because of some injuries throughout the season. But yeah, she started 20 out of 22 games. Again, I feel like availability is such an underrated asset. So quite a lot of my players have played most of their team's games, unsurprisingly. One of Cayman's goals was on final day. She scored a screamer goal against West Ham from 0.06 XG, and that meant that Leicester leapfrogged Spurs to secure 10th place. Leicester won 5 games all season, and Cayman scored in 3 of those 5 wins, showing the influence of her goals. And she had quite a few convincing stats, including high percentiles on key midfield metrics such as shots blocked and clearances. Gone with Janice Cayman in the trio of my defensive midfield, which will be revealed in time.
No one is scoring any goals against you. To be fair, Janice Cayman's one that she's played in a lot of positions. I think over the last 2 years, she must have played almost every position for Leicester because she's just like that utility player that gets put wherever. She definitely played up front a few matches this year when they had a sort of injury crisis with their forwards. My player is different to both of yours, but it is another midfielder, actually. I've gone for Ruby Mace. She was my outright number 1 pick for Leicester because I think the games when she was fit, obviously she didn't play the whole season because of injury, but the games when she was fit, I think she just absolutely bossed the Leicester team, really. She's the sort of player that just picks it up from the centre-backs rather than needing the defenders to go and distribute, and goes and makes things happen, whether that's not necessarily getting loads of goals and assists, but it's sort of that sort of prerequisite before it, sort of the couple of actions before the goals and assists and just helping the team progress up the pitch. She ran the midfield for Leicester, especially when they didn't have any forwards, which was so important. And also got the 5th most interceptions in the league, which, considering she missed almost half the season, I think is pretty impressive. So Ruby Mace is in my midfield. Let's move on to West Ham. West Ham is one that I keep forgetting they finished 9th because they seem to have quite a few players that did quite well this season. I'll put mine in first. Mine is my left midfielder, and I've gone for Vivasei. I think she was potentially one of the first on the team sheet. She got the most goal involvements in the league, 15 this season, and 17 goal creating actions, which was 4 more than any other player. So for a team that came 9th, to have her scoring and assisting that many goals, I thought was really impressive. And my favourite Vivasei stat that I realised the other day, which isn't necessarily something pro or con, it's just an interesting stat, is that for the 3 seasons that she's been in the WSL, she has been the most fouled player and the player that has committed the most fouls. She's just always involved in someone getting a free kick somewhere. But Vivasei gets mine. Emily, I heard you nod. Heard you a little sort of approval.
Yeah, I agree. I think she's been unbelievable this season. I think she's really shone.
Who you gone for?
I haven't gone for her, but she was definitely on my list as someone to go for. I've gone for Shakira Martinez as mine, so she's my striker up top. I think I know she hasn't been there the whole season, but in terms of impact for West Ham, I think she's a real key in keeping them out of the relegation battle this year. 10 goals in 12 games, so that is really a return of what a top striker is. But to do so also with West Ham, I think is incredible because I don't think anyone really expected it. She nearly won the Golden Boot as well, obviously with fewer months to achieve that. So I think real hats off to Shakira Martinez. And next year, I mean, who knows what she could do. Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if there's a few people trying to tap her up before West Ham get to start the season with her. Jacob, who have you gone for?
You'd probably be surprised by my selection, actually. I really wanted to put in both Martinez and Asai. I put Asai in my overall team of the season that Sam and I did a couple of weeks ago, and I've been so impressed with Martinez. And we've spoken a lot about West Ham's strength in attack, but just in terms of how the positions went, I just didn't have a space for a West Ham attacker, so I've gone for a midfielder, and I've seen this player in quite a few people's actual team of the seasons, so I think it still shows strength in West Ham's squad, and it is Una Siren. She started 20 out of 22 matches in the WSL, and compared to WSL midfielders, she was in the 95th percentile for long pass completion per 90, 95th percentile for dribblers tackled, and 91st percentile for blocks. Again, those kind of key midfield metrics that you would want strength in from your kind of centre midfielders. So yeah, not a West Ham attacker, but yeah, that's the second part of my midfield.
Yeah, she's very much like a really underrated player. I think those, well, like I know especially with some of the work that us three do, we are very into the WSL and watch a lot of it and look at a lot of the numbers and stuff like that and do a lot of the research, and you see Siren's name pop up, but for the average WSL fan, you probably don't realise how much she does. But yeah, she's always there with the underlying numbers, doing fantastically well. So that's West Ham done. Let's move on a bit further north, up to Everton. Jacob, I'm going to come back to you now. Who have you gone for from Everton?
I'm going to do my second go at trying to predict Sam's players, because again, I'd be very unsurprised if Sam didn't have this player in. But I have gone with in goal, Courtney Brosnan. Again, we spoke a lot on the pod about how impressive Courtney Brosnan's been. She stands out in a lot of goalkeeping stats when you kind of look at the strengths and keepers in the league, especially with Hannah Hampton and Fallon Tullis-Joyce. Courtney Brosnan rivals them in some of the statistics. She has the most saves in the WSL with 92. She has the fourth most clean sheets in the WSL with 5, so that's only behind the top 3, so Hannah Hampton, Fallon Tullis-Joyce and Daphne Van Domselaar. She had the fourth biggest save percentage in the WSL with 77.9, and she had the second most XG prevented in the league with plus 6.5. So through the shots she faced, she could have conceded 6.5 more goals based off the XG she faced. But yeah, I guess that just shows the strength in Courtney Brosnan herself, especially because you're comparing her to teams that have elite defences such as Chelsea United and Arsenal.
Yeah, you are 2 from 2 for predicting who I've gone for, because I have gone for Courtney Brosnan. I think if we hadn't done it in this order and I'd still have left back spare, you might have thought that I might have gone for Sarah Holmgard. But yeah, at Everton, I didn't really have anyone else that I was like, I definitely want to try and get in this team. It was very much between Brosnan and Holmgard, depending on where else I was going to put people. But yeah, for basically exactly the same reasons, I've basically got the same notes that you've just said, so I won't go over it again. We'll just go to Emily. Emily, who have you put?
Yeah, 3 from 3. I've gone for Brosnan as well in goal. Exactly what you guys have said. And also, if you look at their games towards the end of the season, they kept a lot of those teams quiet. So like Tottenham was 1-1, only 2 goals went past her for Liverpool. Kept Chelsea quiet as well this year. I think she's done really well.
Yeah, I think the only other thing I can think of, and I haven't written it down because I've only just thought of it off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure the best goals prevented in a single game this year was when Everton hosted Man City and they won 2-1. I think Man City got something like 3.5 XG on that day, or post-shot XG, I should say, and yeah, only scored 1 goal. So that win was pretty much down to Courtney Brosnan. So yeah, very well deserved. Let's move on to the final team in the bottom half, which is Liverpool. Emily, I'm going to come back to you first.
I've gone for Olivia Smith on the right wing. I think she's been a standout player, really, for Liverpool this year. First in the WSL as well, so adapting to a new league and also a new country coming from Canada. She was the second most fouled player in the league, I believe, which kind of shows that defenders are kind of struggling to keep up with her skills and pace on that right wing. 20 years old as well, and 7 goals in her debut season in a new country. I think she's got a lot of potential, and I think really Liverpool will maybe struggle to keep a hold of her. I think she's there for a few more years yet, but I think there'll be a few eyes raised at the skills she's brought to the WSL this year.
Yeah, I've gone for Olivia Smith as well for a lot of the same reasons, really. I think she's because she's still only 20, and like you say, she was their record signing, so it's a big money move and it's a lot of pressure, but she's certainly done well. Matt Beard, obviously, when he was Liverpool manager at the start of the season, basically every press conference he had was talking about how Olivia Smith was just getting chopped down, basically, because for a defender, you were better off basically fouling her and maybe taking a card than actually trying to get the ball off her, because she would just make a mug out of you, basically, which I guess is also showing, the second most successful take-ons at 35 in the league. And named as Liverpool's player of the season early today, very well deserved. So, she slots in at sort of the right mid for me, a little bit further back. But near enough the same thing. Jacob, who have you gone for?
Yeah, that's 3 for 3 again. I've also gone for Olivia Smith for many of the same reasons as both of you. She's been so impressive. Such a willing runner, takes on her player down her side. As Emily said, 7 goals this season, Liverpool's top scorer from 4.6 XG, so that's a 2.4 XG overachiever. In terms of the impact of her goals, she scored 2 of those goals in probably Liverpool's biggest win of the season in their 3-1 victory against United. She also scored goals in each of Liverpool's 2-1 wins against Brighton. She scored against 5 out of 11 of opponents. Sorry, she scored against 5 out of 11 of her opponents, again, showing the impact. And so impressive in her first year in the WSL.
Yep, a pretty clean sweep, 2 teams in a row. I somehow don't think we're going to do this for the next one, which is Aston Villa, because they had a bit more of a spread in who was going to be their top player. And looking at the teams as well, I think we've definitely done a lot more forwards than defenders so far. Emily, let's go for you first. Who have you gone for from Aston Villa?
I've gone for Anna Patton, now only because this is really kind of like a filler. Both my centre-backs really have been fillers, with Claire Hunt, the other one. Nothing to take away from Anna Patton, though. I mean, she's got 2 goals for a defender, played 21 matches this year, and she's experienced at that in the back line. You know, she's been in the game a long time. But really, it was just that I couldn't really justify another Aston Villa player taking up another one of my positions as such.
Yeah, it's Patton for me as well. I was kind of in similar sort of boat where I was like, there wasn't really like a standout Aston Villa player other than maybe Rachel Daly, but I've got other players that I wanted to play in that position on the pitch. Obviously, Rachel Daly can play pretty much anywhere on the pitch, as she's shown for England as well. But Anna Patton's my centre back. I think of the positions where I was sort of like trying to figure out who was going to go where, I think Patton was probably the best of the players, and she was really important for Villa. She was the only player from Villa to complete over 1,000 passes and did 250 more than any other player. Had the most recoveries per 90, and also made the most passes into the final third from Villa. So she was very, very important for them, both in attack and defence, in terms of progressing the players up. When I say attack, anyway. And I think she's probably a player alongside Lucy Parker that I'd imagine will end up being the centre back partnership for the next 2 or 3 years, as they both get a little bit more experience under their belts, because they're both, I think, mid-20s. So there's plenty more life in them yet. Plenty further they can go. Jacob, who have you gone for? Are you going to make it 3 from 3 again?
I'm not. No, I'm going for the other player that you mentioned before, which is Rachel Daly, filling in my striker position. You'll see as the team kind of comes together, but I've tended to kind of put the players from the top teams in defence, because I think on the whole, the defences are stronger in the top teams, and I think as you get towards the bottom, I think the attacks are still strong in the bottom teams. Incredibly impressive season from Rachel Daly. She started every game for Villa of the season. She scored 8 goals. She had the 3rd most XG in the league. She also had 3 assists, so making that 11 goal involvements in total. Obviously, Villa had such an incredible end to the season with 5 wins in a row, and Daly was instrumental in that. She scored 3 goals and got 2 assists in the final 4 out of those 5 winning streak. She scored against 6 out of 11 of the opponents and scored in 4 out of 7 of Villa's wins. I was so impressed by a lot of Villa's forwards, especially in their last 5 games, as they kind of built momentum to finish 6th. I've spoken on the pod before about how impressed I've been with Ebony Salmon, especially in that 5-game run, Chastity Grant as well, and also Kirsty Hansen as well, having an impact from the bench. I've gone with Rachel Daly up front.
I've got to remember who I put in. Okay, on to the team that had a really good start to the season, tailed off a little bit. It is Brighton. I'm going to go first on this one because I am pretty sure, because you two have filled your front 3 already, you've probably not gone for the same player as me. I've gone for Nikita Paris. I think she was instrumental in Brighton's at least first half of the season. I don't think she quite got there in the second half, as the whole Brighton team. But yeah, she got 12 goal involvements this season, which sort of bypassed me a bit. Didn't really realise, didn't clock that she'd got that many. But yeah, 7 goals and 5 assists. And very much, I think, deserved the England call-up. There was a bit of a 50-50 about whether it was going to be Beth England or Nikita Paris that ended up getting it. I think probably both deserve to be called up. Obviously, there's only one spot. But yeah, Nikita Paris is my pick. Emily, who have you gone for?
I've gone for Fran Kirby in that kind of cam central midfield role. Again, leader, I think you can really tell when she's not in the team. I think Brighton struggle a little bit when she's not there. 17 matches, she played 7 goals, 2 assists. Compared to other midfielders as well, 99% more goals than any other midfielder. And I think she's really class, Fran Kirby.
Yeah, solid pick, I think. Jacob, what about you?
I have gone for my manager. I've put in Daria Vidicic as my manager in the team of the season. Sam, you mentioned it before, but Brighton had such an impressive start to the season. 8 games in, they'd won 5, and they were in 3rd place ahead of both Arsenal and United. So, yeah, it was such a strong start, but the middle part of the season was so disappointing for them. They only won 1 WSL game between December and mid-April. Somehow they still ended up in kind of 5th or 6th for most of the season. Towards Christmas, it looked like it was a fight between Brighton and Spurs, actually, for 5th and 6th. And then towards the back end of the season, well, there was a point when it was Brighton or Liverpool. And then, Villa ended up coming 6th because of their strong end to the season. But Brighton had 2 wins in their final 3 games against Everton and most notably against Arsenal. A very impressive win, which ensured that they ended up as the best of the rest. I saw something on Twitter today, which was an interview with Daria Vidicic, where he basically said, like, he doesn't want to be the best of the rest. He wants to be the best of the best, which I quite liked. I also noted down in terms of players, both Fran Kirby and Nikita Paris, because their goal involvement were players that I would have put in if I had the place in my team. Daria Vidicic is my pick.
I think Vidicic is a good option as well as one of the managers. He was sort of one of the managers I was considering putting in. And you know what? Tom Marr, also friend of the pod, has convinced me, and I think his theory is true, that Man City's next permanent manager is going to be Daria Vidicic, because he's obviously come from the City group to Brighton and maybe entice back, seeing as they've got an opening there. Let's move on to Man City. Again, I'm going to go first because I know that no one's going to have my player, because mine is another forward, and it is Bunny Shaw. She didn't play that much of the season. She only played 45% of the minutes, but was still the top scorer in the league with 12 goals, 74 minutes per goal. So she's scoring more than the goal a game. If you basically have Bunny Shaw in your side, you're pretty much starting with a 1-0 head start. Top scorer in the league, despite not having the most shots or the most shots on target. She was 4th for shots and 3rd for shots on target. So shows how clinical she was. 3.7 goals more than her XG would suggest. 2nd best over performance in the league. So yeah, a relatively easy choice for me. There were a couple of other players that I was thinking about putting in, but they are in positions that you two haven't picked, so I won't ruin it. Let's go to Jacob first. Jacob, who have you gone for?
My player completes the trio in my midfield. I've gone with Yui Hasegawa. Hasegawa nearly made it into my overall team of the season, but was replaced by a couple of stronger midfielders. But yeah, very impressive season from Hasegawa. She started every game for City this season, which is obviously an impressive feat on its own, but it's more impressive considering the injury crisis that City went through throughout the season in all over the pitch. So yeah, she was 55 minutes short of playing every WSL minute, showing her kind of importance to the team. Hasegawa's passing statistics are superb. Compared to WSL midfielders, she's in the 87th percentile or above for all of the following statistics. That's passes completed, pass completion percentage, progressive passing distance, passing into the final third, and also interception. So a lot of key midfield metrics there. So yeah, that completes my defensive midfield of Hasegawa, Cayman, and Una Siren.
That is quite a defensive midfield. I think you can get away with playing Yanis Cayman a bit further forward than the other two, seeing she did play a few games up front this season. Emily, who have you gone for? Because you've got some defensive positions left to go still, haven't you?
Yes, I've gone for the right back position. So I've gone for Kirsten Kasparai. I almost put Hasegawa in there, but I decided to go for Kasparai. It was tough with Emily Fox and Lucy Bronze. I think they're all shouts for this one, but I went for Arsenal and Chelsea and other positions. I think her ability to get up and down that wing to support the attacks is outstanding. I think she's really composed on the ball, and I think she makes really good decisions in possession. And she's got a level of confidence about her that I like as well. I liked that she got into a bit of trouble for flipping off some fans. Was that this season or last season, maybe? But I like that aura of cocky kind of confidence about her. And I think she's just an all-round footballer. And I think you'd trust her to kind of fill any spot in that back line, certainly. And she's consistent as well.
Yeah, I thought Kasparai was a fantastic choice this season. I had her in my fantasy team for most of the season for a lot of the reasons you've just said as well. Let's move on to, into the top three, into the Champions League places, I guess. We know that it's going to be some kind of defender from Jacob. After saying that your back four is made up of players with the top teams, and having a Spurs player in there, I think was a bit rich. But you have got the top three teams in there as well. So we'll start with you. Who have you gone for from Man United?
Agreed. I've got three defensive positions still to fill. For United, I've gone with one of my centre backs, one of the two players that are in this team that were also in my overall team of the season, and it's Maya Le Tissier. Again, I've spoken a lot about how impressive she's been, and we've spoken a lot as a whole on how impressive United have been defensively this season with their clean sheet record. Le Tissier was only one of two outfield players to play every WSL minute. She was in the 97th percentile for ball recoveries per 90, and just overall for United has been a very, very strong season, getting back into the Champions League. And although they didn't win the cup final, got into the FA Cup final as well. Strong season, and Le Tissier played a big part in it.
Yeah, Le Tissier is a great shout. That is who I've gone for as well. I just think I've made a lot of the same notes that you have, so I won't go over it again. But I think captaining your side when you're in your early 20s to a Champions League qualification, which in a team that doesn't get Champions League qualification every year, this is only, I think, the second time they've ever had it. So very impressive. And hopefully for her sake, she'll be earning some more minutes at the Euros this summer. Emily, I'm assuming you haven't gone for Maya Le Tissier, considering the positions you have left.
Yeah, I haven't. I've actually gone for Mark Skinner. Now, I don't love it. Don't shoot me. Not my number one choice, ideally, but I think I wanted Arsenal and Chelsea players kind of in my squad. I think for pushing back into the Champions League, I think he deserves credit for that. And actually, if you look at his stats, he's played 125, or he's managed 125 matches for United. He's won 79 of them, which isn't a bad stat, really. Lost only 27. Now, if you told me that he was the only manager left from last season in the top four, I would never have believed you. But here we are, and United are in the Champions League. So congratulations to them.
Yeah, it's definitely been a very solid season for Man United, hasn't it? Let's move on to the top two, two teams that are, well, trophy holders this season now. We're going to start, obviously, with the second place, Arsenal. And Emily, I'm going to go to you first, just in case, because I think we might have put the same player here.
I've gone for Mariana Caldente. I think it's a no-brainer for me. I think she's been my player of the season, like hands down, a top-class signing for Arsenal. I think probably the best signing this season. She's a joy to watch, and she's thrived in a new league as well, which I think it goes under the radar a little bit. Actually, how good she is coming from Barcelona, coming from the Spanish league. She's ranked in the top 5 in terms of possessions won, ranked high in most combined tackles, interceptions, and made 50 more progressive passes than anybody else in the WSL this season. I think she's versatile too. She can play wide left at times, but also in that number 10 role when they were kind of missing Palova coming back from injury. But for me, in terms of impact, Shakira Martinez, for West Ham, but for Mariana Caldente and to win the Champions League in her first season, I think, like, best player.
Yeah, I have, as sort of expected, I've gone for Mariana Caldente as well. She was my player of the season. And yeah, I think it was probably going to be either her or Katie McCabe that I put into this 11. But just from other players in the squad and where people moved to, Caldente, thankfully, it was someone I was able to put in. And I think her alongside Ruby Mace could have been an Arsenal centre mid one day if Mace hadn't have moved on. But yeah, Mariana Caldente has been fantastic. I think her impact on Arsenal, especially getting one up on Barcelona in the final, I think will be really enjoyable for her on a personal level. You know, leaving a club that is full of superstars, being the superstar in this new team, and in your first season managing to win a major trophy, coming second in the league, and yeah, having a great season all round, and everyone singing your plaudits. Jacob, you've gone for, well, I think you've got centre back and left back left, so I can probably guess which one you've gone for.
Correct. Yeah, I really wanted to put Caldente in, but again, because of positions and how my other players fit, it didn't quite work. But I have gone for Katie McCabe as my left back. Sam, you put her in your overall team of the season, and she was very close to being in mine, if not for Sandy Baltimore. McCabe, in terms of attacking defending stats, has been so impressive. She's got the most expected assists in the league with 7.3. She accumulated 5 assists from that in 20 starts for Arsenal. And she's in the 99th percentile for progressive passes per 90 and 99th percentile for crosses per 90. And overall, we've just been, extremely impressive season from Kate McCabe.
Yep, all very good reasons. And yeah, 2 players that have had fantastic seasons there. Now, on to the champions, the team that have, let's be honest, walked to the league, thrashed everyone, or at least put on a really good performance and never looked like giving it up. It is Chelsea. We've each got a different position left, so I assume guaranteed to have different people. Emily, let's go to you first.
I've gone for the left back, which is my last position. So Sandy Baltimore takes mine. I know that she isn't traditionally a left back, but I think the way that she came into the league, covering for Niamh Charles in that left back position, I think she shone in not her regular position. I think she's gone under the radar, and actually we saw that she can actually score goals as well in the FA Cup final, 2 at Wembley. And she scored goals actually in that left back position as well. But she's creative, and I think she's so versatile. And obviously Sonia Bonpastor as a manager, like, I could have put her in as well, but I had to have Sandy Baltimore in my team because she can fill any position on that left.
Yeah, she's been one of probably the standout signings of the season, and yeah, I've seen a lot of people doing their team of the seasons and putting her in, and very, very fair reason to as well. She's been fantastic. Jacob, you've got centre back left, and to be honest, I still don't know who you're going to go for.
I'm going to go with Millie Bright. I think I wanted the centre backs or my defence as a whole to be from kind of the best defence in the league, maybe bar Tottenham. But yeah, both United and Chelsea having the best defence in the league. So I've gone with Millie Bright, and both of them are kind of players that I put in my actual team of the season and are the only survivors from my actual team of the season. Bright started 21 out of 22 games for Chelsea. She had the second most Chelsea minutes after Hannah Hampton. She tackled 82.4% of dribblers per 90 tackled, which is the top in the WSL, and she was in 92nd percentile for aerials, 1 per 90. And ultimately, she was an integral part of a Chelsea treble winning side. Bright's gone in my team as the second centre back.
Yeah, I think very good decision. She was she was in my team this season. I think she was in yours, like the normal team this season as well. I did see a lot of people put Natalie Bjorn in, who I think also had a very good season. That was why I was a bit unsure as to who you were going to go for. But no, Millie Bright's a very good pick. My last pick is my manager. I've gone for Sonia Bonpastor here. I think for Chelsea was a team that I didn't pick early on. Like I didn't try and place in my team early on because there were so many Chelsea players that did so well this season. I think there were I could probably almost any position I could put a Chelsea player in and be happy with my choice. But Bonpastor as manager, I think, was my one to go for. She obviously came with a big reputation, but in a new league, arguably a high quality league, it was a sort of wonder how she would do week to week. Obviously, we know she can do it in Europe. But yeah, domestically, she was fantastic this season. They've obviously won the domestic treble. They've gone unbeaten in the league, won it by 12 points, which is a record. And yeah, all round, just not bad for a debut season. So yeah, there are our picks. There are 3 squads. I'll put these up on social media and I'll get your votes in as to who's picked the best squad, because I think we probably each think that our own team is the best, but we'll see what the listeners say, see what the general public say. But I think they are 3 very good squads. And this has been quite fun to do. I think the one per team worked quite well. So yeah, thank you, Jacob, for the idea because it was a good one. I think it was a good episode, and thank you both for coming on. Thank you, Emily. Thank you for your debut. Hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. Yeah, really enjoyed it. Thank you.
No, it's good to have you on. Be a pleasure to have you back on at some point. Thank you as well, Jacob, for coming on.
No, thanks for having me. As you said, this is good fun. It works so well, the 12 WSL teams fitting in a starting 11 and manager. So yeah, lots of fun. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, good one to do. Probably wouldn't quite work for the Premier League, but works nicely for the WSL. And obviously thank you, listener, for listening along as well. We will have some more content coming your way over the summer. Decoding the WSL is going to slightly change its name in a few weeks for a short month or so, as there is another tournament coming up. So we'll get around to that when it comes. So keep us in your feeds, whether that's on Instagram or following any of the 3 of us on social media, or now following us on YouTube and subscribing there so that you see any episode that comes out your way, as well as some extra videos that pop up. But yeah, thank you all for listening. Thank you, Emily. Thank you, Jacob. And we'll speak to you at the next one.